Please, may I ask that you please remain for the last item of today's public lecture. Someone once explained to me that the purpose of a closing item such as a thank you is a prayer. It's a prayer to say thank you for wasting your time. Thank you for making time. Thank you for considering that there is such a thing as a time that I can spend with you. And more than anything else, it is a prayer to say, one day I wish I could be just like you, and I could impact society just like you. And if afforded to me, I wish to do more. So please, as we welcome on stage Father MKATSHWA, who will be doing the closing remarks with the thank you, please may we welcome him, knowing that he is from the Moral Regeneration Movement, which this month, celebrates 10 years since the Charter for Positive Values. It brings me pleasure to share with you that I'm meeting you, and I'm also 24, just like Professor Mutwa met you before. And I'm hoping that you'll stick around for when I'm VC as well. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, program directors. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, if there are still any left. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm privileged to say a few closing remarks, and I'm going to avoid the temptation of giving a mini lecture of my own. We don't need that. And I'll try to be as brief as possible because I know some of you have to travel back to your homes and so on. And I'm not going to acknowledge each and every person who is here, and it's very important. All of you are very important. And I'm not going to single out the people that have actually made this occasion such a resounding success. Save, of course, to say, first of all, this great university under the leadership of the Vice Chancellor, Mutwa. We want to say to you, thank you very much for putting it together for both parties. And I do remember very clearly, Alan, when we had our first meeting and we invited the Dean of the Law Faculty. We had a very exciting meeting. And we said, we live in Gauteng, you are on the spot. The success or failure of this project is very much in your hands. And today we can truly say you have succeeded. You have helped both parties to realize our dream. And this augurs well for our future relationship. And Vice Chancellor, I remember very well when you were still a young social worker, belonged to a very progressive organization. And those days you were also very militant, like all young people of those days. And I was to say to you that although we went our separate ways for many, many years, when I reconnected with you, it really makes me very proud to see that not only have you just remained young, but also you are an agent of transformation. And for that, we would like to support you. We'd also like to congratulate you very much. My young sister here, called Professor Advocate Thuli Madonsela. We cannot thank you enough, first of all, for making yourselves available. I know you are very much in demand, and I remember last week you and I attended actually a workshop where we both spoke, and you had just returned from Kigali, Rwanda. You woke up very early in the morning to be on time there. And that, for me, sends a very good message. And for that, would like to thank you quite a lot. Not only did you articulate your subject so well and very fluently indeed, but I also want to say to you that for me, one of the contributions that you have made, and you will continue to make, is that you made our Constitution, which in the minds of some people was almost something like an utopian document. You converted it into a living document, that constitution could actually be an instrument to bring about transformation as we had dreamed to have. For that, I think we have done an excellent job, but we have also made the office of a public protector, certainly for the first time, certainly alive, and lots of people, including educated people who didn't really know very much about the function of that state institution. I think after you took over office, you really made a huge difference. Especially I'm talking about ordinary people, because educated people can always go and read for themselves and so on. Ordinary people in the ghettos, in the villages and so on, for the first time they came to understand that this is an instrument that can be used to better their lives. And you played an extremely important role in that regard. A little tour with you. When I was Deputy Minister of Education, I had a meeting with Rolihlahla Mandela and Thabo Mbeki. And we had a discussion about the sort of examples of glaring social pathologies that already at that time, had become quite a challenge. Question of corruption, of murders, of gender violence, all the ills that are plaguing us even today, long before the state captured our imagination and everybody else. And what then came out of that engagement was that Mandela continued to call for the RDP of the soul. And we asked him what exactly he meant by that. Now, I'm not going to go into an explanation because he explained to us, but basically just to say that whilst we have our constitution right, our economy fine, our political institutions all in order, but if those initiatives have no spirit, they are not underpinned by values, ethical values, moral values, that at the end, they were not really going to take us exactly to the destination that we had anticipated for ourselves. So for that, therefore, I would like to say to Madiba, thank you very much for having inspired also the launch of the moral regeneration movement with all the research that went into it. And I'm not going to waste your time on that one. I think the VC has very ably actually explained what the agenda of the moral generation is all about and why this partnership should in fact continue. When Bill Clinton, I'm told, was elected president, the first thing he did was to invite all the top honchos in various American universities, vice chancellors, presidents, and so on. And he asked them one question. Now that I'm president of the United States, and I know exactly what my function is, what must I do? I want you, as producers of knowledge, and so on, to tell me. I'm not an economist, I'm not this, that, and the other, and so on, all the other special systems of knowledge that are important to have good governance. So there's a long discussion, a long engagement. I'm referring to that because the moral regeneration agenda, which is a national agenda, which is linked to the social cohesion agenda, is not really going to be as successful or is not going to make the impact that it should have without you, ladies and gentlemen, academics, the intelligentsia, becoming quite actively involved in research, in all sorts of things and so on. And what I'm then going to mention just in passing to conclude is that one of the reasons that we decided to work together with this university are just a number of things that I'm not going to elaborate on. This will be a subject for a private discussion. One, ethical leadership. with all what that implies. Your role as producers of knowledge. And just last month, we had a meeting on this very controversial subject, expropriation of land without compensation. Now, what is also very clear to me, and listening, watching the debates going on around this issue, there's a lot of emotional outpouring, quite understandably so, but the universities should then come in and put more content, more scientifically researched information, so that we don't take a decision which may become a monster, after many years. That's one thing that we're involved in. And then, of course, we're involved in what we call election ethics. We started in 2014, and we did this, continued in 2016, and we're preparing for this project for next year's elections. And we hope we'll be able to have a discussion with this university to see what role they should be. And yesterday I was speaking to Neo, and I said, there's a lot of talk about this fourth industrial revolution. I'm not so sure if at all people have really gone deeply into the ethical implications of that new initiative, which is very important, of course, but it has enormous ethical implications. And would like to also, on a continuing basis, to engage with students. In some universities, we've established chapters, MRM chapters of university, where the students, members of faculty can continue to engage with the charter of positive values that the VC referred to. For me, then, I can only say, Viva Nelson Mandela, viva. Viva Madiba, viva. Long live Madiba, long live. Thank you very much. I'll then invite there's a lady there's a gift that I was supposed to hand over. I don't know if she's disappeared. Oh, okay. That's another role now that I'm playing. Professor, as a sign of our gratitude and acknowledgement of the good work that we have done, I've been asked to present to you this portrait here. But maybe for your own benefit and benefit of everybody else, I want to briefly explain what it's really all about. The black and white lino cut created on Fabiano paper by a local artist and fine art lecturer, Mr. Kada Abdullah. The art piece was created for the name change in 2017 of Nelson Mandela University. Mr. Abdullah's areas of interest include gender and Islamic and representation in the art world, particularly looking into its various manifestations. So this is briefly what it means, and it's something very special, and it's now my privilege to Thank you very much, and good night.